You're up.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about credit score factors today. So here we go. So from cell phone plans to home mortgages, personal credit scores are often the primary factor considered by lending institutions when determining eligibility for financing and loans. Often these institutions will use scores provided to them by credit bureaus to help them determine a borrower's ability to satisfy debt. Therefore, it is important to understand what impacts and is reflected in a consumer credit score. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to narrow our focus to what are widely considered the three most heavily weighted factors of a typical credit score model, which is payment history, credit utilization, and credit history. Payment history can represent roughly 35% of an overall score. Here's a big surprise. On-time payments have a positive impact on this factor, whereas late and missed payments have a negative one. Experian.com notes that missing even one payment can have a significant negative effect on credit scores, especially if the missed payment was recent. And what that means is typically missed or late payments may fall off your credit report, but it usually takes a long time, anywhere from 5 to 10 years typically. And that could be just from one missed payment, and that can, again, affect 35% of your entire score. Additionally, on-time payments can drastically boost the score of an individual looking to build or establish their credit. 2012 publication entitled, long one, Your Credit Score, How to Improve the 3-Digit Number That Shapes Your Financial Future, mentions that on-time payments every month shows credit bureaus responsibility and in return helps increase a new borrower's credit score. The second largest factor is credit utilization, which can represent up to 30% of an overall score. The credit utilization component of a credit score provides a snapshot of one's spending in relation to how much total credit they have available to them. As a general rule, keeping credit spending low in relation to how much total credit one has, the higher the score will be. So according to Stacy Smith, senior public education specialist and Experian employee since 2006, credit card utilization is the second most important factor in credit scores. One's utilization rate, or balance to limit ratio, is simply the total, again, of one's credit balances divided by the total of one's credit card limits, generally expressed as a percentage. Constantly, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's website cites that experts recommend keeping overall use of the entire available credit limit to no more than 30%. Thirdly, the credit history component is of major significance and can contribute upwards of 15% towards an overall score. Credit history relates to the length of time one has had credit in their name, as well as the number of credit lines a consumer has held over time. Typically speaking, the more credit that one is extended and holds on to will strengthen this particular portion of the score. Expanding on this point, a research paper written by Abby Kern of Southern Illinois University points out that a credit score is impacted by the length of time the oldest account has been open, and that by closing an old account, which can make a person's credit history look younger than it actually is, could lower the score. In the same report, Kern also notes that by shutting down credit accounts, this decreases the total available credit, which makes the other balances have more impact on the overall credit score. So that goes back into the credit utilization. Closing cards reduces your utilization. Any outstanding debt you have toward that utilization is then increased inherently because some of the cards are closed. This suggests that closing old accounts can not only affect the credit history factor again, but also have a residual effect on credit utilization. Though we have just explored the heavily weighted factors in a typical credit score model, it is important to note the additional components not mentioned today, which would be hard inquiries and account mix. Both are factors that should also be taken into consideration for a more holistic perspective. In summary, our consumer credit scores have several moving parts. Understanding the functionality of the individual factors therein can greatly demystify how they measure and reflect personal credit behaviors. Now, knowing how personal credit scores are gauged, I challenge you to consider your score and discover how your credit health is perceived in the eyes of a lender.